Welcome to the African history class where we're going to be talking about everything African. We're going to be learning about the continent, some fun facts about the continent. So if I may ask, what is the meaning of continent, guys? Continent, right? It's a landmass, right, of different countries, right? Continent is a landmass of certain group of countries, right? Those group of countries, right, might be, they have some things in common most of the time, right? So if we use Africa as an example, Africa is a land of black people. Africa is a combination, right, of black, people, black countries, okay? And those countries are together, right? Although they have borders that, demarcate so that you can know where one country starts and when another country, the country ends, right? So we have many continents, but our focus is going to be on the African continent, and we're going to be going through some, fun facts that you guys might know or might not know about African continent in this discussion. Africa is the second largest continent on Earth. Okay.
That's what I said.
So, and it covers 20%, right? It covers 20% of the world land area. 20% is what?
1/5.
1/5. So if you divide 100, right? You divide 100, you divide it into, 5 halves, five different parts, right? Africa alone, right, takes one of that part, right? And the other 4 parts belong to the rest of the other continent. So Africa is big, really, really big. So, and the area is, 30.2 million square kilometers, if you can, wrap your hand around that. So it's a huge landmass. And Africa currently, remember I said, Africa is a group of countries, right, that have, different similar background or, identity. In this case, Africa is the home of the continent of black nations, black countries. So there are 54 countries currently in Africa because...
Daddy?
Yes.
If you go out to space, will you be able to see the, Africa?
You'll be able to
Yes,
see, yes.
if you went to the moon, you'd be able to see Africa.
Okay.
But you can't really see just the 4 countries really.
Yeah, there's no lines.
Because there's no lines on there. We just, in other atlas you
And
can
it's too
see.
small.
No, it's not too small. There's just
All right,
no
let's
lines.
continue. There are many religions and beliefs in Africa, and because of this, Africans are very spiritual people, right? Do you know what it means to be spiritual?
Believe.
Do you know what it means to be spiritual? Yeah, the meaning of spirituality is you have a sense of God, or a sense of something greater than yourself, right? And you're constantly trying to find a way to connect to that thing that is greater than yourself, right? Which is God. African people, have this sense of, wanting to connect with God, right? And this is where, a lot of African cultures, have different religions and beliefs, and they try to portray that, in maybe having different gods that they serve. This spirituality thing about Africa, right? People express that in different ways, right? You see people, are, shrine worshippers. They have, the different gods that they serve. They have different names of different gods, right? people, the rituals, all this is an effort, right, to connect with something greater.
The growth was propagated by some of the missionaries that came, but Christianity has been in Africa for a very long time. That was Queen Candace. One of her men, wasn't he? And then he told him about God.
Right? There's been, a form of, Christianity in Africa. Throughout, African countries, people have tried to serve God in different ways. And that is where, we got our spirituality from. Right? Now, very culturally diverse, right? With over 2,000 distinct languages. Okay? So we have
5,000 languages in Africa.
Over 2,000 different languages.
I thought it was 5,000.
5,000?
Languages.
Oh, okay. So in Africa, right, we have different customs, different traditions and different heritage. So, the customs and, our differences, span, across, the way we dress, the kind of food we eat, different kind of food we eat. Anyway, there are different, customs, traditions and heritage in Africa. And that, we can see that, in the way, we dress, differently, the way, kind of food that people eat, the kind of way that people live, the kind of houses people live in.
African stands.
Yeah, so those are different, African, cultures that we have, even the kind of music that, people create, right? It's diverse, across African countries. Africa is very, very diverse continent. The reason why you've seen some African countries, right? When you go to some African countries, Egypt, Tunisia, and some of these countries, and they don't look black. The reason is because over time, different kingdoms from different parts of the world, have conquered those land, right? And over time, they've changed the way they kind of grown as a population of fair light people, right? And they look the way they look right now, but that wasn't what it was originally. So what do we have again in Africa? Africa, have a very diverse, geography. Geography is, landform, the things that you can see, mountains, forest, desert. So we have Sahara Desert in Africa.
Kalahari Desert.
We have, a lot of rainforest. And this rainforest, this rainforest, are very, very important, to, our health. You hear about global warming, very, very important. And Africa has, one of the, best, weather in the world. Okay, it's not too hot, it's not too cold in some, regions of, Africa. So again, Africa, hotspot of stunning wildlife. This is where people go to Africa for what they call, safari, right? So it's just a way of them going to see nature, right, in its raw form. Okay, so you go to Kenya, for instance, you see, animals in their habitat, natural habitat. Habitat is where animals live, right? You see them in their natural habitats, right? Not in zoos. Right, when you go to zoos, that's not where animals live. They've just taken the animals and put them in cages, and they're allowing people to come and see them inside cages. That's not where animals live naturally. But Africa is one of the places that you can go to, and you see animals where they're supposed to live in their natural environment. So we have all of this, stunning wildlife, beautiful animals and stuff in Africa, right? Loads of them.
Elephants are scary.
Again, Africa is the home of the world's most valuable natural resources.
What's that?
Okay. and raw food material. Okay, so what do we have on the left hand side there? We have gold. A lot of gold in the world, right, is from Africa.
So everyone gets the gold from Africa.
Africa, produces gold as well, right? As well as other countries in the world. There's a lot of diamond, being mined from Africa as well, and gemstones, and they use it in rings, in like necklaces, and they're very, very valuable, right?
So
these things are worth more.
All of this gold, they use this to make stuff out of it.
Yes, you can make chains from it. People can, countries actually, store gold in like bars of gold. They store it in a vault and they lock it up because they're very valuable. And when it comes to food as well, you guys like chocolate?
Cocoa.
That's cocoa. That is where your chocolate comes from.
Cocoa white.
Why is cocoa white?
Right. Well, you have to. They treat it. Cocoa.
Why is cocoa white?
Cocoa comes from.
It's actually delicious.
From Africa, right?
You can just chew it.
So all the chocolate that you eat, guys, are you listening? All the chocolate that you eat, right? That's the source, right? This thing, most of it comes from Africa.
Most of it.
Okay, yeah. So again, there is a lot of historic sites in Africa. Okay, you know about the pyramid, right? And these things are, these sites are built by black people. Okay? Then you have the Great Wall of Benin in the middle, right? That's historical Great Wall of Benin.
Is it still there?
I think the landscape has changed. So you can see.
People made the pyramid.
Yeah, before people knew civilization as we know it now, there's been a lot of civilization in Africa. The image on the right, and the image you have there is a cave in South Africa, right? You can see all those sharp things hanging from the roof of the cave. Okay, so what do you think they're called?
This is the cave. This is the cave.
Stalactites.
Stalagmite.
And stalagmites.
Stalactites and stalagmites.
Yeah. So those are really beautiful historic sites, and there are lots of those all over African countries, in Nigeria, in South Africa, in so many places, right? And we have to know our heritage. We have to know what God has blessed us with in Africa.
I want to say something. Is that water right there?
No, it's not. That reflection. I think it's light.
There's some water, yeah.
Oh, what's water then?
There's some water inside the cave, yeah.
No way.
So, and that's the end.